Most people learn the wrong way and then blame themselves for being slow. They watch experts perform effortlessly and assume talent is the reason. They chase originality before competence. They look for shortcuts before understanding structure. And when progress stalls, they conclude they are not gifted enough. The Japanese never accepted this confusion. Across centuries, in sword schools, tea rooms, calligraphy halls, and martial lineages, they observed the same pattern repeat again and again. Those who tried to be creative too early failed quietly. Those who respected the process surpassed expectations. From this observation came a system so simple it looks unimpressive, yet so accurate it still outperforms modern methods today. It is called Shuhari. If you are tired of learning slowly, of starting strong and fading out, of feeling stuck between beginner and mastery, subscribe now. This channel is not for hacks or shortcuts. It is for systems that actually work when motivation disappears. Most people want freedom immediately. Shuhari begins with discipline. The first stage is called Shu. The word means to follow, to protect, to obey the form. This is the stage everyone wants to skip because it feels restrictive. In Shu, there is no creativity, no personal flair, no innovation. You copy exactly what is taught. When a student trained under a Japanese swordmaster, they did not invent techniques. They did not add personality. They did not ask what felt natural. They mirrored their teacher's movements precisely. Foot placement, blade angle, timing, breathing, even posture after the strike. Everything had to match to modern ears. This sounds suffocating. But Japanese masters understood something most people miss. Before freedom, there must be form. Before expression, there must be structure. You cannot write poetry if you do not know the alphabet. You cannot improvise music if you do not understand rhythm and scale. You cannot innovate in mathematics if you do not master basic operations. Creativity without foundation is not creativity. It is noise. Shu exists to build what the Japanese called correct form. Not just in technique, but in the nervous system. The body learns what right feels like. The mind learns what precision looks like. Neural pathways are carved slowly, accurately, repeatedly. Modern education often undermines this stage. Students are encouraged to express themselves before they understand what they are expressing. They are told to find their own way before learning the proven one. This feels empowering, but it creates fragile foundations. Bad habits form early and harden quickly. Small errors become permanent limitations. The student advances with confidence, but lacks depth. When pressure arrives, performance collapses. Shu prevents this in Japanese calligraphy. Students may spend months or years doing nothing but copying their teacher's brushstrokes. They do not experiment. They do not stylize. They place their paper over the teacher's work and trace the exact movement again and again. This seems like it would produce identical results, but the opposite happens. By copying deeply enough, the student absorbs the principles behind the stroke, balance, weight, flow. When creativity eventually appears, it is grounded, it is not borrowed, it is earned. This is why Shu feels slow but saves years. The brain cannot be rushed into mastery. It needs time to build stable pathways. When repetition is accurate, those pathways strengthen. When repetition is sloppy or rushed, weak connections form. Later improvement becomes difficult because the base is flawed. Shu refuses to hurry. It respects how learning actually works. This is where most people fail. They confuse boredom with inefficiency. They abandon Shu because it does not feel exciting. They crave visible progress and external validation. But Shu offers neither. It offers only quiet improvement. And quiet improvement is invisible to impatient people. In Shu, discipline replaces decision-making. You do not ask what to practice. You practice what is given. You do not evaluate your style. You refine the form. You trust the lineage because it represents accumulated wisdom from generations who already made the mistakes you are about to make. This trust is not blind. It is strategic. Shu trains humility. It dismantles ego. It removes the illusion that you know better before you have proven it through years of correct repetition. This stage is uncomfortable because it delays individuality. But individuality built too early is fragile. Individuality built after mastery is powerful. Japanese masters were uncompromising here. Shu was non-negotiable. You did not earn the right to break rules until you could follow them perfectly. Modern learners invert this order. They break rules they never learned. They call confusion creativity. They mistake novelty for innovation. Shuhari exists to prevent this self-sabotage. Progress feels slow because growth is internal. Precision increases before speed. Stability develops before flexibility. Control emerges before freedom. Those who endure this stage emerge fundamentally different. Their movements are cleaner. Their thinking is sharper. Their errors are fewer. They have something most people lack, a solid base, and with a solid base, everything accelerates later. This is the first truth Shuhari teaches. Mastery is not rushed. It is prepared. The student who survives Shu does not look impressive early, but they are dangerous later. This is where real learning begins. Most people never leave the first plateau of learning because they misunderstand what comes next. They assume that once the basics are memorized, mastery should appear automatically. When it doesn't, they grow restless. They either quit or start improvising randomly, hoping originality will compensate for shallow understanding. This is where Shuhari quietly separates serious learners from everyone else. After Shu comes, ha means to break away. But not in rebellion. It is separation with respect. The form has already been absorbed deeply enough that it no longer needs constant conscious attention. Now the learner begins to test it against reality. Variation enters, but only after stability exists. In Ha, uncertainty appears for the first time. During Shu, the path was clear. The teacher said, "Do this," and you did it. In Ha, there's no longer a single correct answer. You must decide what to keep, what to modify, and what to discard. This is uncomfortable. Many people retreat. Here, they prefer the safety of copying forever rather than risking mistakes. Japanese masters understood that this discomfort is not a flaw. It is the gate. In traditional sword training, once a student had mastered the forms of one school, the teacher would often send them away. They were told to train with other masters, to face unfamiliar styles, to test their perfect forms against unpredictable opponents. This was not cruelty. It was necessary friction. Perfect form that cannot adapt is brittle. Ha exists to introduce stress without destroying structure. This stage looks chaotic from the outside. Movements lose their earlier elegance. Errors increase. Confidence fluctuates. The student feels worse than before. But internally, something important is happening. The skill is being personalized. The learner is discovering which elements truly matter and which were only scaffolding. This is where creativity actually begins. Not as decoration, but as adaptation. Most modern learners try to do Ha before Shu. They experiment without a base. What they call innovation is often confusion. Their variations have no reference point, so nothing stabilizes. True Ha only works because Shu already built the foundation. In Ha, journaling becomes important. Observation becomes deliberate. You notice what works under pressure. You notice what fails. You learn your own tendencies, your body, your mind, your limits. You are no longer copying. You are testing. This stage requires courage because there is no guarantee of success. You must accept temporary regression. The Japanese never promised comfort here. They promised growth. Those who endure Ha long enough begin to feel something shift. The rules that once required attention now operate silently. Decision-making becomes faster. Adjustments happen instinctively. The learner is no longer thinking about the form. They are thinking through it, and then, without announcement, reappears. Re is not achieved. It emerges. Re means to leave, to separate completely. At this stage, the learner is no longer defined by any system, not even the one that trained them. The principles have been internalized so completely that action flows naturally. There is no sense of technique. There is only response. This is mastery. When Miyamoto Musashi developed his two-sword style, it was not rebellion against tradition. It was its inevitable outcome. He had mastered single-sword techniques so thoroughly that he could see their limits. Clearly, his innovation was precise because it was rooted. It made sense because it was earned in Re. Effort feels effortless not because it is easy, but because resistance has disappeared. The body knows what to do. The mind no longer interferes. Others look at this state and call it talent. They do not see the years of repetition, the years of uncertainty, the discipline that made freedom possible. This is why so few reach Re, not because it is rare, but because it cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. It appears only after Shu and Ha are honored fully. Shuhari removes confusion from learning. At every stage, you know what is required. In Shu, copy exactly. In Ha, experiment carefully. In Re, trust what has been built. There is no need to ask whether you are doing it right. The stage tells you. Modern science now confirms what Japanese masters discovered through centuries of observation. The brain learns complex skills through stages. Accurate repetition builds neural pathways. Variation strengthens them. Integration makes them automatic. Shuhari is not tradition. It is biology described through culture. This is why it works. If you are a beginner, humility will accelerate you faster than creativity. If you are intermediate, patience will carry you further than confidence. If you are advanced, restraint will protect your mastery better than display. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence, but because they disrespect the sequence. They want the feeling of mastery without the preparation that makes it real. Shuhari demands trust. Trust in the process. Trust in time. Trust that discipline precedes freedom. And those who trust it long enough discover something profound. Learning does not slow you down. Done correctly, it accelerates you beyond what shortcuts ever could. If you are ready to stop guessing how to learn and start following a path that has produced masters for centuries, subscribe. This channel exists for those who value depth over speed, structure over chaos, and mastery over shortcuts. Walk the path properly and let mastery arrive when it is ready.